All right, fight fans, we're back. It is UFC Fallout. The Fallout is actually a former UFC fighter in Bellator now. Anthony Rumble Johnson, you see his face right there in a picture from his mugshot when he was arrested on May 7th at 11 o'clock at night at Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut. Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut. Jeff, that's 10 minutes away from where I grew up. A lot of my friends and family worked there, right in my neck of the woods, literally, when I was a kid growing up in Connecticut. But the shocking thing about this story, and I'm going to give the facts here, just the facts, ma'am, but on November 9th, 2019, the New Canaan, Connecticut Police Department took a complaint regarding a victim having their credit card being used by a third party without permission. An investigation later determined that it was Anthony Rumble Johnson. The card was used to purchase a round-trip ticket from Fort Lauderdale, Florida to Newark, New Jersey. And, of course, Anthony Johnson, after the investigation, they waited until he was in Connecticut. That's what they do. New Canaan is on the way down toward New York City. It's down in the money area. Everybody always told me when I grew up, hey, you're from the richest state in America. No, they are down on that end. Greenwich, New Canaan, Fairfield, all those places down there that they go into New York City. I was in southeastern Connecticut up by where Mohegan Sun is. Anyway, they have agreements in place, police departments with the casinos where they can go and arrest people when they're there. So Rumble's in Connecticut headlining Bellator. Jeff, the fights were on the 7th, weren't they? I think the fights were on the 7th.
The fights were on Friday night.
Yeah, the fights were on the. He got arrested right after his fight. If I'm reading the police report right, he got arrested at 11 o'clock at night right after his fight against Hodor, against Jose Augusto, that he won by TKO, his Bellator debut, and he gets arrested right after inside the bubble of the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like you said, the crime was committed in November 2019, and at that time, Rumble was no longer in the UFC. The last time he fought in the UFC was in 2017, where he lost to Daniel Cormier, and then he was kind of not doing anything, And then he signed with Bellator.
He was doing something.
Heavyweight tournament. He was definitely
doing something. He was traveling somewhere.
He was up there to Newark, New Jersey.
What the question is that is this someone he knows? Was there a dispute? Is this a business thing? Like, we don't know that. Like, it is like we can't just assume that he stole someone's credit card or found one on the ground or something. I mean, this could be someone he knew. There could be a dispute involved somehow. Maybe Rumble thought the card was his to use. I mean, we don't know. We don't have enough facts yet to just blindly sit here. I mean, especially someone like me, who if I got sued, they'd have to shake me upside down to get 2 nickels. But I mean, literally, we don't know all the facts. We do know that the investigation determined that it was Rumble who purchased the ticket on the stolen credit card. And who knows? Maybe he knew someone who said, yo, man, we got like hot credit card numbers. Who knows what it is? I mean, I've seen every possible scenario, I think, with credit card fraud, and I've probably barely scratched the surface. So until we have more facts, we don't know what he actually did, but we do know the investigation determined that it was him who used the illegally obtained credit card or credit card numbers.
Yeah, and that a complaint was filed by the rightful credit card owner, and then when they did the investigation, they found out that Anthony Rumble Johnson's the one that used it, and it was used to purchase a ticket from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, to fly to Newark, New Jersey. Those things we know. You're right, though. We don't know the details of whether he knows the person, whether it's a business affiliate of his, or whether he was confused or what. But we do know that he was arrested at the Mohegan Sun, the Bellator bubble. Rumble gets his win, advances in the light heavyweight tournament, and gets arrested immediately after. And what we also
he got knocked down too in that fight. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah, he got knocked down in the fight too. It was a closer fight than a lot of people thought it would be on short notice.
Yeah, but I mean, what we don't know if there's any implications for his, status, for his future status in Bellator or in that light heavyweight tournament. We'll have to get a hold of Scott Kirkler and Bellator MMA to answer those questions. But right now, this is breaking news. It's just happening, and so the details are scarce. But what we do know is Anthony Rumble Johnson was arrested for identity theft, and we're going to have to see where the chips fall, man, because this has far-reaching implications potentially. On how Bellator wants to handle the situation.
Fight Vadim Nemeth, and he's of course the light heavyweight champ who beat Ryan Bader. But I think I find it funny too This just goes to show you how lazy people in this field are now. This would never happen in the past, but the Daily Voice in Greenwich, Connecticut, there's enough money in Greenwich to feed 100 countries. Let's just put it that way. It's where Vince McMahon lives. You know what I'm saying? It's where Regis lived. It's where, like, literally luminaries and extraordinarily off the charts wealth lives there. Okay? Extraordinarily wealthy people, off the charts. That's Greenwich. And this is their newspaper. Man nabbed for ID theft. Tell me, guys, in the chat if you notice anything missing in this story. And Jeff, I know you already know this because I was talking about it, okay? A trip to Florida may lead to a trip to jail for a man who was busted by police investigators in Connecticut for allegedly using a credit card stolen from a Fairfield County resident. The New Canaan Police Department received a complaint from an area resident November 19, blah, 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 blah. Police said the illegal use of the credit card was used to purchase a round-trip ticket for Newark to Fort Lauderdale, first for, not from. So they put for Newark to Fort Lauderdale instead of from, so spelling, editing, with Anthony Johnson as the passenger. Following the complaint, a warrant was obtained by the New Canaan Police Department for Johnson, again, notice if there's anything missing in this story, on multiple charges for illegally using the credit card. On Saturday, May 8th, the New Canaan Police Department located Johnson, who was taken into custody at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Uncasville and transported back. Johnson, age 37, who now lives in Deerfield. Are you noticing anything missing? Hello, he was headlining the damn fight in the casino.
No, it's a local
How?
website. It's a local website who probably landed on the desk of a journalist who's just a journalist and doesn't know. Had that landed in the sports section, they probably
not much of a journalist.
Well, it's he don't. Why would you know Anthony Johnson unless you cover the sport? The story in the local newspaper is local person ripped off by man who stole identity. So they,
but it's a better story. It's a lead story, a front page story. If it's local resident ripped off by Bellator MMA headlining superstar.
Yeah, had it landed in the sports section, it probably would have read that. Like I said, it probably just landed in. So for somebody's work in newspapers, they you just get handed stories, right? And so It's probably the guy who writes the obituaries, or you know what I mean? And it just lands on his desk, and he's like, "Okay, write this up. Credit card theft. Who's the guy? Johnson, 37. You know what I mean? And you just bang out the story." And then now his phone's ringing off the hook, right? The editor's
now you become a laughing stock around the world.
Yeah. The editor, his name is Zach. But yeah, the editor's probably called him right now going, "Zach, did you not look into who he was?" He was like, "No, I just covered the story."
Zach, you're fired. Zach, maybe. You suck. Zach, find a new career.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's Anthony Johnson's not like a household name. I bet your ass if that was like Connor or something, he would be like, "What?" Yeah, but it is weird that he was. Was he the headline? He was the actual headline.
He would be the headline because he's Rumble, but it's crazy that people wouldn't do that investigative work, and I understand what you're saying, Jeff. But I'm a guy. I worked at papers too, and I was an editor, and you got to find out who the guy is if there's any notoriety there. It's at a casino. He's the headlining fighter, one of the co-main event, and he's a big name guy. But you had mentioned earlier, Jeff, it happened in 2019. Rumble hadn't fought in 2 years. He was still 2 years away from Bellator. People are in the chat asking, how do you make all that money? And then you're buying stuff. Look, I mean, you don't make a ton of money until you get the big time fights, and even the big DC fights, not huge amounts of money for Rumble Johnson. No comment yet from anybody in the Rumble camp that I can see. Ali Abdelaziz represents him, so I don't know what's going to happen there. I haven't seen anything yet on social media, and I don't expect to anytime soon.
No, we probably won't. And I mean, interesting in that article that he was arrested on multiple charges, right? I mean, or multiple uses of the credit card. And so, this story is developing right now. And so, we aren't going to jump to conclusions. He's innocent until proven guilty. Right now, he has been charged and arrested. So for them to charge him and arrest him, then a grand jury saw the evidence and put out the warrant, right? And so we know that it's gotten that far. Very interesting, though, Jim, that it happened. I mean, and like you pointed out, it happened at a time where Anthony was not an active fighter and had not been an active fighter in 2 years.
Yeah. And
I know it's easy for fans to say, well, you made this much money, you made that much money. Remember, MC Hammer made like $300 million and was broker than I am right now when it was all said and done. Money comes and goes, man, and money can go fast, especially if you think it's going to continue to come in. Because that's what happens to celebrities
Yeah.
or athletes is they think that they're going to continue to make this money for years and years to come, and it just dries up in 2 years, and you overbought. And I don't know if that's what happened with Anthony Johnson, but yeah. And we don't even know if it's a financial problem. So the person in the chat who said that's jumping to conclusions. Like I said,
Yep.
Anthony could have got the credit card from someone who he thought he had authorization to use, and then he uses it and ends up being arrested later. The details are just sketchy right now until Anthony shows up to court later. Does it put the court date in there, or does it just say later this year? I think it just says later this year. And so Anthony's going to answer, and his lawyers will
June
answer
8th.
to that.
June 8th is the court date.
That's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. So we'll know then.
Also not in Zach Faila, ironically, Fail, or the first 4 letters of his last name, also not in his article.
No, like I said, he might even be an intern. If you're an editor of a newspaper, an identity theft story, it's just something you throw at anybody, right? Just like, write this up. It's a failure on the editor's part more than anybody. That should have stood out to him, and him realize that a big story just landed in their small town in Connecticut. But yeah, now everybody's doing their due diligence, right?
Wait. Here's his bio, Jeff. Here's his bio. Equal parts Lois Lane, J. Jonah Jameson, and Vicky Vale. Zach has traveled from coast to coast covering small and big town community news in both in print and online for nearly a decade. Since his graduation from the award-winning Roy H. Park School of Communications at Ithaca College in 2010, he is no intern. He has a byline, a picture, and he has a very lazy story that he just wrote about a global superstar who's just an anonymous Anthony Johnson in his paper with no court date.
Well, I'm not gonna attack Zach like he just used somebody's credit card and got arrested. Let's relax on that.
I'm only teasing Zach.
But now, what's happened is that stories got out there that Zach missed. Maybe, I don't know. I have no excuse for why he missed that. I'm trying to.
He missed the court date too. He doesn't have the court date in there. Oh, you're fired, Zach.
But that's what I'm saying is websites like MMA Weekly and other outlets are doing their due diligence, and we're calling the police department, calling the Mohegan Sun, and figuring out exactly what are the details. What's the complaints? What's the charges? When was he arrested? When's the court date? What did he give any statement, to the police? All those things are happening now. Those things Zach did not do. But like I said, he probably didn't realize that he had this huge story on his hands and was probably pissed off that it even landed on his desk. Apparently, with all that self-written accolades that he put up.
I was gonna say that. You're like, oh, damn it, you do it. No, you. 1, 2, 3, shoot. Shit. I got to do it.
Yeah. and now poor Zach is looking bad to everybody around him, because this was a big story. This is especially for a local newspaper. You're from that area. This will be a huge story for that community. And it is. Like tonight on the news, they're going to cover it as we are covering it. Former UFC title challenger, 2-time UFC title challenger, Bellator light heavyweight tournament favorite, arrested for identity theft. That's the way their local news is going to cover that at the 10 o'clock news tonight. But yeah, they missed it this morning.
Well, and I'm wondering, when were the BK? Someone in the chat put up a great point. JT, let's throw up JT's. Those were his 300-pound visits to BKFC. Surprised they didn't charge him for 2 seats. Would he have used the ticket to go to one of those bare knuckle appearances where they announced him as the head of fighter relations? It was right in that time frame. That's a great point, JT. And I'm looking it up right now, because in November of 2019, there's some interviews up from Rumble at BKFC. What if he used it to go? Oh my God, that could be. Wow.
Well, what we don't know is the local resident. Who's the local resident? That's what we need to find out, is who was the local resident that filed the complaint. Is the owner? I mean, does he have anything to do with mixed martial arts? Or is it just some random person that literally got their credit card bill and realized that there was plane, tickets charged to it? Or is it someone in the fight game? Because this story could go in a million different directions right now. And you know that, Jim. I mean, we don't know. That's the key to this story, is whose credit card was it? What ties do they have, if any, to Johnson? If they have no ties to Johnson, that paints this in a different light than if it is somebody associated with combat sports and who had business relationship with Johnson. Then we're getting into a murky water kind of deal that's going to play out in court.
Is it someone affiliated on a business level where they had beef or something, and then he used the card, and it's going to be he said, she said, or he said, you know what I mean? I don't know. You don't know. But let's see. BKFC.
I
No,
forgot about the bare
no.
knuckle fighting
2019
championships.
Tampa. No, none of they were in Florida. None of them were up north, so he wasn't traveling for that I can see. Wow, what a mess. I mean he wasn't fighting. He was making appearances back then, and he was named as a director of fighter relations for the BKFC, which is a token position, right? Like really, just one of those things to bring a name guy in, and maybe, at that time he just was taking whatever he could that paid him.
Yeah, it's hard to say. We don't have the details right now. I mean, like I said, we know that he got charged. We know that a complaint was filed. I mean, like I said, the key to this whole thing is going to be who owns the credit card. Because if it is just like Martha Smith, who lives out on, Elm Street, and she doesn't know a damn thing about Anthony Johnson, doesn't know anything about combat sports, then this is a different situation than if it's like, the vice president of bare knuckle fighting championships, or or some guy who works for a sponsor, or something like that. Then this takes on a different tone altogether. Right now we don't know any of that. All we know is that Anthony Rumble Johnson was detained, arrested in Connecticut after his fight for identity theft, and charged with multiple charges. And identity theft, I mean, we'll have to look that up on what it on what he could be facing here.
Up to 5 years
now,
in jail
granted,
and a
he has,
$5,000 fine, Jeff. Up to 5 years in jail and
there
a
you go.
$5,000 fine. Yep, that's Rumble's.
Yeah,
But he's
that's
not going to get that. But June 8th is the court date.
no.
I want to hear the story, man. We don't know the story. There's got to be a story. There's no way. And I could be seen stupid before, say that I haven't, but I definitely have. But I would be shocked if Anthony Rumble Johnson took some dude's credit card, bought a plane ticket in his real name, traveled under that ticket with that name, knowing he had stolen someone's credit card, and would do all that with his stature just for a fucking flight. I find that to be almost as ludicrous as anything I've ever heard. But then again, I've heard things that seem to be more ludicrous that were actually true. But until I know, I can't believe anyone on God's green earth would be that stupid.
Yeah,
and I went like this because I'm scared of Rumble. I'm like, shit, I hope he wasn't that stupid. Yeah. He's going to knock me out.
Yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I agree with what you're saying. I mean, this would be outrageously stupid. And so we do want to wait. And look, you're innocent until proven guilty, of course. He's been charged with it. He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. But we're going to find out, man. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I don't know how to make it. I agree with you. I would think, particularly because where he flew to, right? He flew to Newark, which is the hub of that gets you to bare knuckle fighting, that gets you to Bellator, that gets you to everything that he's doing up there. And so I would be inclined to say that it was a fight related flight. But at the same time, who the hell knows? And was it round trip? And I mean, it's there's all kinds of stuff. All kinds of questions that come up in my mind. But yeah, it would be a totally ridiculous crime and not a very smart one. But we haven't heard from Rumble yet. And I'm sure Rumble is accessible. Rumble, usually addresses things head on. He's a fighter who's missed weight several times in his career. He addresses them, immediately. So I'd say in the next day or two, he'll be out there giving a comment, or his management team will be out there giving a comment.
And Bellator saying a statement is on the way too, Jeff. Yeah, one of our buddies in the MMA community, who I won't mention because they work for someone else, tweeted that a statement is on the way, and our people are on it too. Just so you know, Hunter's on this. Why don't we don't have Hunter here? But Hunter's on the story for us at MMA Weekly. He's the one who let us know about it, and so you'll see it up on the site soon with more information as much as possible. But I don't see anything yet from Rumble. I don't see anything yet or any statement from anybody about this. I'm sure it'll come out soon enough, but probably not while we're on.
Yeah, Yeah, it's hard to say. They're drafting statements right now, or they better be. And I mean Rumble's management team and Bellator MMA. They have to release statements almost immediately. You got to get out and ahead of something like this. Whether Johnson will release a statement on his own, probably lawyers are going to suggest that he not. Right? You remain silent and you talk to your lawyers and let your lawyers do the talking. But as far as his management team and Bellator, they're going to have to release a statement. And so we're going to hear from them relatively soon, probably within minutes, and certainly within hours. But I don't know that we'll hear from Anthony because this is a pending investigation. This is a legal matter. This is a criminal matter. And my advice to anybody involved in a criminal complaint is to shut your damn mouth and talk to your lawyer. Hopefully Anthony does that.
Yes. No, and you remember too, back then in 2019, he was arrested for domestic violence after admitting he got physical during an argument with his girlfriend. So there was a domestic violence thing going on with him back then too. So maybe 2019 was just a bad year. He wasn't fighting. He had been out for a while. We know people struggle in situations like that. Athletes struggle, fill in the days, the weeks and the time. So I don't know. I mean, and he could have been fighting that whole time, but he was going through things apparently in his personal life and some things were going down. I'm not one to sit here and say anything. I mean, even for me to say he was going through things, all I know that he went through was not fighting and getting arrested on suspicion of domestic violence. And, he had, one previous on domestic violence on suspicion of it in 2009. And just, I mean, he's had some issues. So he's had some issues and this is unfortunate. I would hate to think anyone in his position would do something like this and risk what he could risk by doing that because you don't know what Bellator is going to do. Are they taking him out of the tournament? Are they pending further investigation going to take him off the roster? I doubt they'd do any of that because they're Bellator and they're desperate. But, I mean, we'll see. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if any organization is going to pull him off. This is a nonviolent crime. And you know what I mean? And so I don't know that you necessarily, let's just say if he's a UFC fighter, I don't know that they necessarily pull him out of a tournament or off of a fight card because of this, without a conviction. If he gets convicted, then yeah, maybe you do. But right now, he's innocent until proven guilty. He's going to have legal counsel answer to the charges. And we're going to see how this plays out. But yeah, it's an interesting note of when it came. November 2019, when he wasn't fighting, and like you brought up, there were other things going on in his life, and so this could just be remnants of a time in his life that's gone, that's past. We're in 2001. It was a couple of years ago, and so who knows where the story it could lead.
And he's making big money again in Bellator. He's making good money.
Yeah, but for an organization to really. This isn't John Jones leaving a scene of an accident with a pregnant woman hurt or an assault or even the domestic violence that he had in his past. This is a credit card crime, a nonviolent crime. The owner of the credit card was reimbursed their money, and he was charged. And so there's really no one hurt in this situation except for Anthony Johnson and probably the credit card.
But did they know it though? Did they know it? Was there a deal made with police to not arrest him until after? Because he was there in the bubble beforehand. He was there and the fight was being advertised. So why did the police wait until why didn't they arrest him before the fight? Was Bellator getting special treatment? Was Rumble getting special treatment where a regular dude like me would be arrested beforehand? Because then I would have a problem with that. And I would have a problem with Bellator or Anthony Rumble Johnson getting special treatment and not being arrested until after the fights. So they might have some answering to do on that end too.
Well, I can speak to that a little bit because I've been to concerts where they arrest a band member afterwards, and it's a deal they cut, right? They come.
It has to be a deal they cut, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. The authorities, the police, or the law enforcement comes there, and then they cut a deal basically. And Rumble's like, "Look, I'm not fleeing. I have a fight on Friday. I'm weighing in tomorrow. Is there anything? This is how I make a living. I'm not fleeing. I'm not a flight risk." And then Scott Coker and Bellator probably steps up and says, "Absolutely, we will turn him over now, but it would be really nice for everybody involved if you would just arrest him afterwards." And that's sort of what it looks like to me because the date and the time that he was arrested and everything, it looks like they cut a deal that, yes, Anthony Johnson is here. Yes, we know he has a warrant for his arrest. He's here on work. Can you wait until after his fight? And most, especially non-violent crimes, they're going to comply with that. Right? Okay, that's fine. We'll arrest you. Bone Thugs and Harmony did the same thing at the MTV Music Awards years ago, where they waited until after their performance to arrest them because they're not leaving. Right? There's no flight risk. And I've seen this happen with Widespread Panic's drummer in Bowling Green, Kentucky. They waited till after the concert to arrest him on some charge, whatever it was. So it's not uncommon for them to do that. Once they determine Anthony Johnson isn't going to flee and we have him, then why do you want to arrest him before the fight and hurt the community of Connecticut, the Mohegan Sun's business and everything? Just let him do his fight and go into custody afterwards. That's what it looks like to me, Jim. Now that you mentioned it, it looks like they probably went beforehand, cut a deal with Bellator, cut a deal with the Mohegan Sun, because as we brought up, the Mohegan Sun is a reservation, and the local police doesn't really have the authority to arrest anybody there without compliance by the Mohegan Sun. And so the Mohegan Sun probably just said, look, after the fight, we'll turn him over.
Man, and what happened? I remember someone's talking about Dog the Bounty Hunter. I remember he arrested War Machine, but someone said, I do you remember Dog the Bounty Hunter arresting a fighter at a fight? I don't remember him arresting a fighter at a fight. But then again, I didn't really watch Dog the Bounty Hunter, so you're asking the wrong guy.
I went to Dog the Bounty Hunter's office in Honolulu. That was kind of a weird little thing. But yeah, like I said, it's just not uncommon for celebrities or athletes for them to wait until after, especially if they're working that weekend and it's a nonviolent crime and he's not a flight risk. There's no harm, no foul. I don't think that the police get a black eye for that. Especially if Anthony's innocent. Let's just say that they arrest him before and he doesn't get to take that fight and make those thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds, and then he's innocent. And so I think the best course of action is what they did. You just wait till after the fight, arrest him, and then he comes back on June 8th to stand to answer for the charges. So I don't think there's any controversy there. If anything, I think that's a testament to Anthony Johnson, the Mohegan Sun, and Bellator all cooperating with authorities.
I guess I don't know what in the world is. Nothing else is coming out right yet. No updates, nothing yet. So people are still, I guess, investigating. I'm just trying to find stuff on Twitter, because if you want the news faster, you got to get it on social media. That's the thing. I mean, you're sitting here waiting for these websites to get it and put it up. Like, you got to get it from someone's tweet somewhere first, I believe. And that's what I'm always looking, because they'll be updated before the stories are.
Yeah, well, right now, like I said, we just got the arrest report, at the time that he was arrested, where he was arrested, and what he was charged with. And so that's what we know right now. Right now, we're basically just waiting for his management team to draft a statement, which is going to be run through the legal team, and Bellator as a fight promotion to release a statement. And I'm sure all that's going to come down momentarily, or definitely within the next few hours. But it's a complicated deal. Like let's just say that they didn't know, and the police were just nice and waited till afterwards, and Bellator's just finding out about all this stuff, or found out about it at the arrest. There's a lot of things that you have to put into place and T's to cross and I's to dot, and you want to talk to Anthony for sure, and you want to talk to his management team for sure, before you ever come out and release a statement. So right now, all this is happening on the fly. This is breaking news, people. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing about breaking news.
Beautiful thing for us right here.
Arrested.
Yeah, and in case you missed it and you're just joining us, Anthony Rumble Johnson was arrested right after the fights on Friday night at 11 o'clock p.m. in Connecticut by the New Canaan Police Department. They're about an hour and 20 minutes away from the Mohegan Sun Casino, but went in and were able to execute that warrant and arrest Anthony Rumble Johnson after his win over Jose Augusto that night on the Bellator card in the tournament, of course. And Rumble was arrested without incident. He was released on a $500 bond. He's in court on June 8th with a possible 5 years, I think $5,000 fine as well. So Anthony Rumble Johnson accused of using a stolen credit card, and the investigation did indeed turn out that it was Anthony Rumble Johnson, at least to enough so that the police arrested him. Again, I'm being careful with the legalese here, but as nothing is proven yet. But he was arrested, and he has been charged with it. He has been released, and I gave you the details on what he could be facing and when his court date is. But the card was taken from a New Canaan, Connecticut, or the numbers were used from the card of a New Canaan, Connecticut resident in 2019. And the warrant was just executed. Obviously, I'm sure Rumble would not have been or had a reason to, well, who the hell, that's why I left Connecticut when I was 22 years old. No one would ever go there except for the casinos. So that's why he was there. He was there to headline Bellator, or co-main Bellator, and they just had to wait a couple of years. And that's pretty common, Jeff. I mean, warrants get served and executed years later. I mean, certain states, you walk back in, you got a warrant, they could arrest you 10 years later, 20 years later.
Yeah, and they have to do, and it might not have been reported right away because if let's just say that it's somebody that Anthony doesn't know, you don't notice that until you might not get your credit card statement for 30 days. Unless you're one of those people that keep looking online, at it. But let's just assume that you're not. You don't know for 30 days, and then you're like, "What the hell's this?" And you call the airline, you call the credit card company, and then the last person you call is the police. And so that had to play out. But what's interesting to me, what I want to know right now is, first of all, who owns the credit card? But second, I want to know when Anthony found out he was going to be arrested. Did he know before that fight? Did it affect his performance? Did he know he was going to be arrested afterwards? And I'm assuming that he did, because they waited until after the fight instead of arresting him before. And so I feel like there was probably
Yeah.
contact between the police and Anthony Johnson. And then how do you go into that fight knowing as soon as this is over, I'm going into custody? And so I can't wait to hear Anthony Rumble Johnson talk about this, but right now he can't. He cannot talk about this till after June 8th, or his lawyers are dropping the ball big time. But he was arrested. And so we know that the district attorney or a grand jury saw enough evidence to issue an arrest warrant. And then the arrest warrant was executed. And so we do know that it's gone that far. That a grand jury or the district attorney felt like there was enough evidence to arrest him. That's all we can say. Doesn't mean he's guilty. It just means they felt like they had enough evidence to charge him with a crime.
And they got $500 of his money for a bond in case he decides not to come back. That's probably what he'll end up getting fined anyway. But I look at this. I'm sure Scott Coker would like to have this one back. Scott Coker, Anthony Johnson has nothing to be disappointed about after Bellator 258 debut. He has one thing, Scott.
Well, yeah, you might want to update. Yeah, you might want to update that, Scott. Yeah, like I said, this is a ripple effect. We don't know what's going to happen to him legally. We don't know what's going to happen to him with his contract with Bellator and his status in the Bellator Light Heavyweight Grand Prix. We don't know. Look, do I think he's going to see jail time over this? No. I think he'll probably get a fine, some community service and stuff like that. But we're going to see. That's all speculation. Who knows? It's at a judge or a jury's discretion, or a judge's discretion on what he sentences you to. But it'd be highly unlikely for him to actually serve any jail time for this, other than what he did to get processed on Friday night and then released on bond. But I've seen stranger things happen. I've seen people held for ridiculous stuff. But it's Anthony Johnson. He is a celebrity. He is a high-profile athlete of sorts. No, he's not Conor McGregor, but people know who Anthony Johnson is. And except for Zach, he didn't know who Anthony Johnson is.
He's fought for a title. I mean, he's been the top contender at light heavyweight in the UFC. He's one of the top guys in the Bellator tournament. He was supposed to fight Yoel Romero, and Romero couldn't, obviously make it for the fight, and that would have been interesting considering that Bellator continues their pattern of ex-UFC fighters who the UFC doesn't want anymore in their tournaments. And that's pretty much what this tournament was. 6 of the 8 guys. 6 of them were former UFC guys that the UFC didn't want to pay the money to keep them around, and they go to Bellator, including Romero, including Rumble, including Bader, including Machida, including Corey Anderson. I mean, am I missing anybody? But they're all former big-name fighters from the UFC who are now fighting in Bellator, and for obvious reasons with Bellator. But I think that if they had known that he was going to be arrested after the fight, they would have a statement ready by now, wouldn't they? I mean, why wouldn't the statement be out? They would have had everything ready by now. They would have known. It would have been orchestrated. What if Bellator didn't know? I mean, what if Bellator legitimately has no idea? I mean, that's possible. I don't see how, but it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's possible. I mean, just because he was arrested after the fight kind of makes me feel like the police waited, on purpose waited, which would indicate to me that Bellator was in the know. But what you're saying is there is no statement. And if you were in the know, you would have had a statement ready to go. And as soon as that hit the damn press today, as soon as it got up on a website, boom, your press release is out.
So that changes things. So if Rumble didn't tell them and he got arrested and nobody knew, then that changes things for Coker, the way he's going to adjudicate within the ranks here of Bellator MMA. Because if he snuck out and tried to hide the arrest, you're not hiding the arrest if you're Rumble Johnson, unless you have Zach write all your arrest stories. Then people you'll be on the low. It'll be incognito.
Yeah. I mean, I would be shocked if Bellator didn't know just because of the timing of the arrest. I would be shocked. But then that is weird that they haven't put out a statement yet if they did know. And if they didn't know, what due diligence is Bellator doing? Um,
And how is
and no
this identity
statement.
theft?
Well, because you use the credit card as someone else's name. You assume their
Yeah, I
identity to use
understand
the
that,
credit card.
but oh, okay, I understand. But I mean, like, you're not stealing someone's identity. You're using someone's card.
No, but whenever you
Why
use
wouldn't it
their
be grand
card,
larceny or something?
well, because to use a credit card, he's going to have to vouch that he's the. If he uses it online, you have to vouch that you're the guy, an electronic signature, or you're going to forge a signature. Uh,
Yeah, it's
but
probably the more
whenever
serious
you like,
charge,
like
I'm
to,
guessing.
yeah, to log into my email as me is identity theft. To use my credit card as me. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Jim. What you're saying is that if Anthony Johnson used a credit card as himself, then it's not identity theft. And so I just have to assume that he used the credit card as the owner of the credit card and not Anthony Johnson. And they didn't figure out that it was Anthony Johnson until it was his name on the
No, the
ticket.
name of the passenger was Anthony Johnson. So he used
Yeah.
if he used the credit card to buy the ticket, he put his own name on it. You know what I mean? Identity theft would be trying to fly as the other guy, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like maybe someone bought this ticket for him, and Rumble might actually be a victim here. I'm not saying, I'm just speculating, but I don't want to piss all over a guy until I know, because there are a number of possibilities here that would not implicate Rumble Johnson, where he could have been someone who was an innocent victim of somebody else buying a ticket for him through that card and that theft, and he's just the passenger. I mean, that could
Well,
be. So we don't know that either.
well, no one else has been arrested. So we do know that no one else was arrested. But if I take your
Who
credit card and go to American Airlines and buy a ticket for Jeff Kane, that's identity theft. I stole your identity, used your credit card, and purchased a ticket for me. But I mean, I don't know. Look, the charges are probably going to be pleaded down to anyway. Um, just because of who Anthony is. Uh, but yes, he is innocent until proven guilty. That is 100% a fact. He is innocent until proven guilty, and so we can't say that the guy's guilty of it. The only thing that we can say is that the police department or a grand jury or the district attorney felt like there was enough evidence to charge him. Doesn't mean it's enough to get a conviction. They felt like it was enough evidence to charge him, and we don't know how big the investigation is. Well, like you brought up, there could be other people in this investigation that have not been brought under the net, the arrest net yet, or whatever. Right now, Anthony Johnson's the only one that's been arrested. I want to know whose damn credit card it was. Like, that's going to blow the thing wide open. Like, we're going to know so much more once we just get a name, right? Just give us the name of who it is on the credit card, and we're going to know. Like, we're going to know who they're tied to, who they're affiliated to, or if they're not. If they're not affiliated to Anthony Johnson or Combat Sports or a sponsor, then this looks very strange. If they are,
or did the
then
BKFC buy him a ticket? Who bought him? JT's got a point.
Yeah.
He gets cut from Bellator. Rumble pulls huge numbers on his BKFC debut. Man, but Rumble and BKFC is scary. You got anything else to add, Jeff, before we wrap this up? There's nothing else for us to say. Nothing else.
No,
really.
Other than we'll update the story as it develops. It's developing now. We expect statements from Bellator. We'll expect statements from Anthony Johnson's management team. And we'll just keep everybody updated as the story goes on. But right now, Anthony Johnson has not been convicted of any crime, or not in this case, been convicted. And so it's just a story right now, Jim. It's just a story.
There it is. All right, that's Jeff Kane. I'm Jim Grieshaber. This is UFC Fallout Special Edition, talking about Anthony Rumble Johnson, arrested for using someone's stolen credit card in 2019. The warrant served right after his fight Friday night at the Mohegan Sun Casino, Bellator MMA's bubble location, and that's all we know. We don't know the other circumstances yet. We know he was arrested, he was booked, he was let out on $500, and he is due in court on June 8th with potential 5 years jail time facing him. We don't know anything else. We hope Rumble was not complicit in this. Well, he's complicit in it. We hope he wasn't the one who orchestrated it. That's what I want to say. That's enough legalese for one day before I get myself in trouble. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We appreciate you. This is MMA Weekly. Hunter Brownstein all over the story on the website. Jeff Kane and his team at MMA Weekly. Make sure you get over there. Hit that like button. Subscribe right here on YouTube. Keep it coming, baby. MMA Weekly, the most trusted source in news and entertainment in mixed martial arts for almost 20 years. For Jeff and everybody at MMA Weekly, Grease saying keep your game tight and your mind right. We mean it this time. We're out.